Caribbean Holiday by Jarvis B. Chavez.
The black night sky was lit up by lightning. You could hear the loud and menacing sounds of thunder far off in the distance.
"Please mind the hose, Mumford,"
my mother admonished the cabby.
"I'm trying, Mum,"
said our West Indies cab driver. "I wish we had gone to Jamaica instead of coming to this Caribbean hellhole," I remarked.
"Now, Haley, please keep a civil tongue. You will see that once we reach the estate, you will regret your remarks. My friend Mr. Baxendale has graciously invited us to the housewarming party of his new home on this island. They only just buried his wife 6 months ago. Had to. Dead, you know,"
my mother remarked matter-of-factly. My mother was your typical bored London socialite. She was currently between husbands. I fear that she was setting her sights on Mr. Baxendale for her 5th husband. That's what the real reason was behind this little holiday.
"Haley, sweetie, the way his house has been described in the London press makes it sound like it's a cross between a luxury hotel and a spa. It has the absolute best of everything, darling. Now be quiet and enjoy your vacation away from England and your dreary little university."
Yes, Mother, you insufferable cow, I thought to myself. My mother was a very impulsive person and did anything that popped into her fool head. I begged her to wait until morning to make this trip from the small hotel we were staying at to Mr. Baxendale's mansion, so at the very least the weather would clear up, but no, she insisted on traveling tonight. Mother's rationale was that Mr. Baxendale had invited other guests, and we should get there early to ensure we got the best rooms. It had nothing to do with showing off her new boob job before any other gold diggers could show up and claim him. Mother also added we could save money not spending another night at that dreadful little hotel. Mother was pinching pennies, because the last of her divorce settlement was running out, and she needed another victim quickly. I really didn't mind the hotel too much. It was rustic and charming, and I enjoyed ordering corned beef sandwiches and drinking malt punch from room service. It sort of reminded me of uni. Mother had the unwashed desk clerk, as she put it, order us a hackney cab. We contracted with poor little Mumford to take us to the estate, which was located far off on the other side of the island. I heard a crack of thunder. Then it started to rain hard.
"This is some dangerous back country, Mum. There have been many animal attacks lately, resulting in numerous deaths. The local authorities have warned people with no business in this area to stay clear from here."
"That is very unsettling to hear," I replied. Poor Mumford was having a hard time seeing in the torrential downpour. I suddenly felt drops of water fall on my face. Mother brushed off a few drops that fell on her head.
"This poor imitation of a London cab seems to have sprung a leak. I say, are we sinking?"
Mother said with a straight face. I burst out laughing. "Oh, Mother, the things that come out of your mouth!" Suddenly we hit what felt like a bump and landed hard back onto the road. We heard a loud crash. Then the cabby uttered,
"Oh, my. Are you ladies all right?"
"Yes," I replied.
"We hit something back there,"
Mumford said nervously.
"I will go and check to see the damage, Mum. You two wait here."
Poor little Mumford stepped out into the rain without a jacket or umbrella.
"You may have been right about waiting for this storm to pass before leaving the hotel,"
Mother said under her breath. "Well, this is no time for 'I told you so.' Let's just hope there's nothing seriously wrong, and we can get underway shortly." Mumford came back to the cab, dripping wet.
"I fear we have popped a tire, your ladyship." "Well, can you fix it?" "No, Mum. We don't have no spare tire. I will have to walk to the next town to get help."
"Should we go with you, Mumford?" I asked, trying to be helpful.
"Absolutely not. It's far too dangerous. I forbid it." "Your mother is right. It will be faster if I go by myself."
Mumford immediately leapt right back out into the rain and began walking down the road ahead. "Oh, poor Mumford. Mother, really, we should have all gone together to get some help."
"Don't worry, Haley. He'll be fine. He's probably used to this weather."
"It's simply ghastly out there, not fit for man or beast," I exclaimed. Then, without warning, something came crashing through the car window and knocked both Mother and I back in our seats. I immediately felt a wetness on my arms and legs. I looked down at my lap. It was the wet and bloody body of Mumford. My mother let out a scream. "Ah!" Then I heard a loud noise coming from the top of the cab. The top of the cab sank in, like something heavy had dropped on us from the sky. Then it was immediately followed by what sounded like the pounding of two fists trying to punch through the top of the cab, trying to get at us. My mother screamed out, "What's happening?" "I don't know, Mother, but we must get out of here." I quickly moved towards my door, but my mother could not get hers to open. "Help me!" my mother yelled out. "Come, get out of my way," I motioned to her. She quickly crawled over Mumford's lifeless body. I reached for the door handle. It seemed to be stuck. I then rammed the door using my shoulder. The door flew open and I tumbled outside onto the wet and muddy ground. I jumped up. "Mother, leave everything and follow me." I ran a few feet, then turned around to make sure Mother was right behind me. I turned and saw Mother crawling out of the floor of the cab when I heard a big crash and a deep growling noise. Whatever was on the roof had just fallen into the inside of the cab. Mother turned and looked back into the cab and screamed. She then was pulling herself onto the ground when all of a sudden something dragged her back into the dark interior of the cab. I heard struggling in the cab. I ran towards the cab when I froze in place as I saw two yellow eyes staring back at me from the inside of the cab. The lightning lit up the face of some creature that reminded me of a hyena. Its head poked out of the cab first. Then a hairy, clawed hand grabbed the top of the cab door and pulled itself out of the cab. It stood upright on its hind legs like a man. The creature snarled at me, then let out a howl. I practically jumped out of my skin, turned, and ran into the surrounding jungle. I ran through the bushes and underbrush. I kept thinking to myself, this is something out of a nightmare. I came upon a small house. I saw a light on in the window. I ran for the house. As I got within a few feet of the door, something tackled me from the side. I hit the back of my head hard as we came crashing to the ground. As I looked up, I saw the beast looking over me. He then lifted his claw and brought it down with such force and fury I could feel the razor-like sting ripping through my flesh and down the side of my face. I could hear a woman scream, then realized it was coming from me.